Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. One of the most dominant trios we have ever seen, getting second, first, and first in the three FNCS finals leading into the 2025 FNCS Global Championship. Let's start from the beginning. If you haven't heard of Peterbot already, well, you should have. He was last year's global champion alongside his duo Poyo, and he's considered by most the greatest, best, and most dominant player we've ever seen. Solo clutch after solo clutch, win after win, Peterbot sprints while others crawl. In 2024, Peterbot played with Poyo and won 3 FNCS titles, including the Global Championship. This level of success awarded Pete with the highest level of respect by the other top players in the world. When Trios being the competitive mode for 2025 was announced, Pete had every player asking to be the chosen two to accompany Pete on another dominant year. Peterbot, looking at his options, and speaking with his coach, decided to play with one of the most feared fighters in the world, being Cold. The third player was more difficult to decide on. However, Peterbot did eventually decide that his fighting ability and skill set would be limited if he was forced to focus on the strategy, positioning, and in-game tarpeting. So he decided to play with, in his opinion, the best in-game tarper in the region, Bugha. So, after Peterbot's insane performance throughout 2024 with his duo Poyo, he decided for 2025 that he would be maximized in his trio of Bugha, Cold, and himself. Let's pause. If you have forgotten, this video isn't about Bugha, Cold, and Peterbot, but rather Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. So let's take a look at the missing puzzle piece, Ritual. Ritual began his trio journey with a dominant fragger, Agers, and a mastermind of Fortnite, Acorn. Not bad by any means, especially looking with hindsight at the outcome of the year that Acorn and Agers had themselves. This trio does have an interesting dynamic, as Ritual and Acorn are both traditionally IGLs, or in-game leaders, who make the majority of decisions for their teams. This trio, to some regard, almost seemed destined to separate just by the composition of 2 IGLs and 1 fragger, rather than having a more traditional team with the roles IGL, fragger, and a support or fragger. Let's not forget about this trio and this dynamic of a typical trio, as these players and these roles are very important in the near future. Let's zoom back into how Ritual ends up with Peterbot and Cold. Peterbot, being the dominant player he is, has the highest of expectations for not only his teammates but also his placements. And, well, the trio of Bugha, Peter, and Cold wasn't quite holding up with the placements of 3rd, 10th, not qualifying for the finals, and 4th in trio cash cups. It's safe to say that although the placements are not terrible, they are far from Peterbot's expectation of winning. So Peterbot decided that he was done with this trio, and he played the next 2 trio cash cups with his ex-duo Poyo and star fragger Bolts, resulting in placing 6th and 3rd. Even with the firepower of this trio, he wasn't winning. So he decided to scrap this trio and play with Acorn and Kanata, searching for that winning trio. Pete is switching teams left and right, so where does this leave our missing puzzle pieces, Ritual and Cold? Actually, because Ritual was playing with Acorn and Agers, when Peterbot took Acorn for his trio, Ritual decided that he wanted to play with Cold, causing the trio of Ritual, Cold, and Agers. Peterbot did actually find some of the success he was searching for all this time with Acorn and Kanata, placing 3rd, 1st, and 1st in trio cash cups. This began one of the most dominant runs in Fortnite history, but we'll be back to that later. If you haven't figured it out yet already, Peterbot expects the best, and the second he sees any blemish in his teammates, he tries to find a replacement. This leading to both Kanata and Acorn being dropped for the missing pieces, Ritual and Cold. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual had the clear roles of Peterbot and Cold both fragging and focusing on kills, while Ritual was the IGL focusing on the game plan and all decisions throughout the game. This was the formula Peterbot was searching for, as they won the next 6 Trio Cash Cups or Divisional Cup finals in a row, leading to the first FNCS Major of the year. Going into FNCS, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual were the clear and ahead favorites to win it all by a wide margin. Also important for this first FNCS Major was that the 2 top teams would qualify for the Global Championship happening in September. The FNCS Majors results came back as a massive shock to all, with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual coming in second to Peterbot's former Global Championship duo, Poyo, and his previous trio mate, Acorn, alongside previously mentioned Agers. This wouldn't be an issue to most, as Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual still netted their ticket to the Global Championship, but for Peter, if you haven't learned already, if he's not first, he's last. This is where complications arise. To make things clear at this point, Agers, Poyo, Acorn, and Cold, Peterbot, Ritual are both qualified to the Global Championship. Any team or trio that wants to split or disband has to have all members sign a legal document to send to Fortnite that officially disbands their team and removes their qualification to the Global Championship. Because Peterbot got second to his former duo Poyo, and Ritual, Peterbot's teammate, had an underwhelming performance for Pete standards, Peterbot decided to drop Ritual to add Poyo to his team, making the trios of Peterbot, Poyo, Cold, and Acorn, Ritual, and Agers. Peterbot did this for multiple reasons. He believes that he'd be a better IGL than Ritual, therefore making Ritual and his role irrelevant, and also because Poyo was essential for the success and FNCS win for Acorn, Poyo, and Agers. So this calculated move by Peterbot increases the firepower of his trio while handicapping the second best trio. Now if you remember back, the trio of Ritual, Agers, and Acorn actually played in a few cash cups earlier. However, both Agers and Acorn were very vocal that they did not believe that they would be even close to as good as before when playing with Poyo. Therefore, Acorn and Agers were unwilling to sign the team disband forms, which would give up their spot at the Global Championship, but give them some trio flexibility. While, for most players, hearing that you would be unable to play with your desired teammates at the Global Championship means the end of the Dream Team, however, we are talking about Peterbot, and Peterbot always finds a way to get what he wants. So Peterbot, Poyo, and Cold decided that they would play the remainder of the events together up to the Global Championship, trying to net as many wins and as much prize money as possible. This would then cause the teams to go back to their original composition at the Global Championship. This is where Fortnite had enough. They enabled a new rule to combat the manipulation and rule dodging that Peterbot was trying. Fortnite implemented the new rule that once qualified to the Global Championship, the players are unable to earn FNCS prize money if playing with a different team composition than that which qualified for the global event. Therefore, unless the disband forms were signed, which Acorn and Agers were clear they were never going to do, Peterbot and Acorn would have to play with Ritual for the remainder of the year. And well, this is what happened. This was the end of the Peterbot team puzzle. Although not his first choice, he played the remainder of the year with Ritual and Cold. But he did make a change from the first FNCS, which was a role swap for Ritual and Peterbot, making Peterbot the IGL and having Ritual focus as a support player. During the teammate mess, Peterbot continued his Trio Cup winning streak, winning 3 divisional cups with Poyo and Cold. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual then won the next divisional cup, extending Peterbot's world record Trio Cup win streak to 12, with 1 divisional cup to go before the second FNCS finals and qualifier to the Global Championship. Peterbot felt unstoppable as ever, but something about this divisional cup was different. It almost seemed like destiny needed to give him some sort of reality check. And the 6-game format of a divisional cup finals is very catastrophic for any game crashes or queue bugs to happen, causing an unfair disadvantage in one of the games. Unfortunately for Peterbot, both him and Cold crashed in back-to-back games, causing them to get second and lose the 12-cup win streak, and they lost to a new threat that has been rising through the ranks, being Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. Going into the FNCS finals, the top 3 favorites to win were clear, being the dominant Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, reigning Divisional Cup winners Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo, and FNCS title holder Acorn, Agers, and Poyo. After the first day and 6 games of the FNCS finals, Peterbot was ahead by 41 points, just in front of Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. The second day came down to the wire, with Clix pushing Peterbot in the last game, attempting to take him down. However, in the attempt, both trios got stuck in Storm, which, after brawling for a few minutes, was too much for the weekend trios to handle, and Clix's trio died just after Peterbot, allowing Peterbot to win the FNCS by 11 points, or less than 3 eliminations. This crowned Peterbot as a 5x, Cold as a 3x, and Ritual as a first-time FNCS champion. The changes to roles by Peterbot and him being the IGL paid off. He was able to lead the trio to victory, even if it was by a narrow margin. Going into the next season, Peterbot and Poyo's trios both identified Demon's Domain as the best drop spot on the map, due to an infinite shield regeneration medallion, as well as a mythic assault rifle. Therefore, an off-spawn battle began, with neither team believing that any other drop on the map was even close to as good as Demon's Domain, and both trios thought it was vital to not show any weakness off-spawn to hopefully lock down an uncontested drop at the upcoming Global Championship. The off-spawn score was about even with all things considered, and due to each team having 0-point games from dying off spawn, during the Divisional Cup finals, neither team drew much success until we reached the last Divisional Cup before FNCS. In this Divisional Cup, Pollo, Acorn, and Agers won the off-spawn battle 5-1, and in the 5, they won 3 games. This caused Pollo to win the Divisional Cup, with Peterbot coming in at 19th place. Despite this result, Peterbot was still content with contesting Pollo for the remainder of the season and during FNCS finals. However, things changed when an event was announced that would occur on the first day of FNCS finals. The event was teased with a trailer depicting the complete destruction of Demon's Domain, and this was enough for Peterbot to leave Demon's Domain for brutal boxcars, which doesn't seem special at first until we recognize that the central positioning of the POI, as well as the priority on the tall mountains near the POI, give a massive advantage. This seemed like a perfect resolution to the off-spawn brawl until Fortnite's competitive X account posted that Demon's Domain would not change, and all the loot would remain untouched regardless of the effects of the live event. Many believed that this would cause Peter to go back to dropping at Demon's Domain. However, he stayed silent and committed to landing it at brutal boxcars in the FNCS finals. One obstacle remained in Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual's off-spawn journey. The team that had been dropping at brutal boxcars the entire season, Edgy, Dukes, and Chance. Luckily for Peterbot, Edgy's trio was in the same heat to qualify for the FNCS finals. Peterbot made it his mission to stop Edgy from qualifying and therefore earning brutal boxcars uncontested in the finals. Most teams do this by testing their off-spawn prowess, dropping at the POI. So in this case, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual dropping at brutal boxcars, attempting to wipe out Edgy in the first moments of the game. Peterbot took an unconventional way to ensure Edgy failed. This being to land at Demon's Domain, get the best loot possible, then chase Edgy, and this trio across the map for the entire game, with the sole intention of ensuring Edgy does not qualify for Grand Finals. Peterbot was successful. His trio qualified while Edgy was left in 15th place with only the top 10 trios qualifying to the Grand Finals. Luckily, in the last chance qualifier for the last 3 spots in Grand Finals, Edgy narrowly missed the qualification, granting Peterbot's wish of brutal boxcars uncontested in the FNCS finals. The stage was set, and it was once again scripted for a Peterbot vs. Pollo FNCS finals, with Pollo having the best POI in the game and Peterbot having found a way to become uncontested at a solid drop. The first 2 of the 12 games of the Grand Finals, Pollo won convincingly with back-to-back wins, having 10 eliminations in each. Peterbot needed a break, and in Game 3, Pollo's team was contested by a separate team and died off spawn, giving Peterbot the opportunity to catch up and separate himself from the pack. In the 4th game, Peterbot took Pollo's fate into his own hands, camping the exact building that Acorn would enter to farm metal in the middle of the game. Catching Acorn off guard, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual made the fight a 2v3 and finished off Pollo's trio before they could rack up any points. The rest of FNCS finals played out ordinarily, with Peterbot and Pollo's trios both playing each game out to the best of their ability. This left the standings after 11 of the 12 games to be Pollo in first, Canada in second, and Peterbot in third, with a 90-point separation between Peterbot and Pollo. This means that for Peterbot to win FNCS, he would need to have a great game, and most likely a win with a few elims, with Pollo's trio also getting 0 points. The only way to guarantee that Pollo's team ended on 0 points for this game was to land on them at Demon's Domain. And if you don't remember, if Pete isn't first, he's last. And the Peterbot vs. Pollo off-spawn had been played out many, many times. This was it. One off-spawn at Demon's Domain to determine it all. The entire season, every scum game, every Divisional Cup game led to this moment.
About absolute masterclass performance so far here. Just perfect execution day in, day out. And we are gonna get what we want to see go down here.
Ring that bell, ding, ding, ding. Let the match begin. All season long, watching on Aussie's stream, 30-something, all for this fight here. Cole gets the gun. He's able to chase Acorn around, who has absolutely nothing. Agers gets one for himself, but he's gonna fall. Peterbot and Ritual are the last 2 alive in a situation that they could revive Cole, leaving Acorn all by himself.
Just like that, the tables change with a pickaxe and a swing. The support system comes through for Peterbot. Ritual, Cold, and Acorn, you can run. But buddy, I don't think you're going to be able to hide for much longer. They're making sure they have no odds at losing this one. And Acorn is just hiding out here down in the low ground. I think something's going to happen here that's going to give away his position here. But it looks like the real kings of the Demon's Domain will be Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Peterbot won and went on to have a 7-elimination win, coming right down to the wire, winning the FNCS Grand Finals by 3 points. And when elims are worth 4 points, this means that Peterbot won with the exact number of eliminations they needed to secure another FNCS win, and make Peterbot a 6x, Cold a 4x, and Ritual a 2-time FNCS champion. Now, going into the Global Championship in early September, Peterbot's team has a total of 12 FNCS championships between their players. They are seen as one of the best teams competing there, and they might be the most feared fighting team qualified. They have the best average FNCS placement for a major region, and they have previous global champion experience of Peterbot to guide them to success. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual are currently going to drop at Rangers Ruin, and they are unfortunately contested by both Ferdoxy and Tayson's trios from Europe. If you don't know, Ferdoxy is considered the best off-spawn fighting team in the world, and Tayson has been dropping at this location all year. They are all going to Rangers Ruin in hopes of the Carapace Medallion, which grants 50 health and or 50 shield on every elimination, and passively gives 3 shield per second up to 50 shield. So we will see if Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual try to find a new spot that they may be able to stay uncontested, or if they want to battle with the best off-spawn fighters in the world behind Ferdoxy. This is what we know for now. Hopefully Peterbot can be uncontested by the Global Championship so we can see the dominant run from Peter continue. Until the Global Championship, we'll just have to wait and see what these 12-time champions can do.